Welcome back. Let's continue with the coding of our backdoor. Now, before we even get into coding all of the different functions that we want our backdoor to have, let's first write them down. How we're going to do that? Well, we're going to add a help option as a command that when the user of our server types help, the backdoor will send all of its available features that it can do. Let me show you what I mean. If we go to our server program and to our target communication, you remember here we compare the command with the quit, and in case the command was indeed quit, then we break out of this loop and exit the program. Let's do the same with the help command. So we're going to add an else if statement, and we're going to compare the command with the help string. In case the user of the server inputs help, then we want to print in colored all of the different features and options that the backdoor can execute. We're going to use 3 single open quotes and 3 single closed quotes, and in between we're going to write all of the options that we want our backdoor to have. So let's start with a new line character, so everything gets printed out correctly. The first option is the quit command, of course, the command that we already coded, as we can see right here. Quit, we're going to tab it a couple of times. Let's add a small arrow, and here it will tell what this command does. In our case, it will quit session with the target. Simple as that. The next command can be the clear command, and let's tab it all the way to here, and this command can clear the screen. So we're going to do the same thing as, for example, typing clear inside of your terminal. It gets rid of all of the previous commands that you ran, and it gives you a clear and better look of your terminal. Okay, so we're going to code that as well. The next command that we want to add would be the cd and then directory name. So we want to change directories. Let's specify between these star signs directory name, indicating that it can be any name you want. Let's add these 2 arrows and type what this command does. It changes directory on target system. Let's not forget to add the upload and download functions to our backdoor. So upload and then file name between these 2 star signs. Oops, we did not want to open this. So let's say what this does. We need to add this arrow and type upload file to the target machine. Let's lower this so we can see this better. The next thing is to download the file. So download file name. And let's type right here, download file from target machine. The next 3 commands will be something that we're going to steal from the meterpreter. If you ever use meterpreter, which you most likely did, you know that there is an option to start the keylogger, to stop the keylogger, and to print all of the keystrokes that were inputted while the keylogger was running. So let's steal those 3 options, and by steal I mean we're going to code them ourselves, but we're going to base off of that meterpreter keylogger. So keylog_start will start the keylogger, so start the keylogger right here. Keylog_dump print keystrokes that the target inputted, and keylog_stop stop, and let's add a fun option, stop and self-destruct keylogger file. That sounds interesting, and you will see how we're going to code that later on. As you remember, I said that the keylogger that we created was not its final form, so we're going to upgrade it and use it inside of our backdoor. And there is one last option that we want to add, which is persistence. We want to add the reg name and the file name. And now we need to tab all of this a little bit further so everything can fit. Okay, so let's add the last description of our command. Create persistence in registry, which simply means that our program or our backdoor will automatically get started once the target restarts their machine. So they do not have to double click on our program and execute it multiple times. They can only do it first time, and then we can run the persistence, and then the program will hide itself inside of their machine and it will automatically start every time they restart their machine. Okay, so these are all the functions that we want to code inside of our backdoor. For now on, we only added the help option, which will print what will be available to do with our backdoor. So let's see whether this will work. But before we actually test this to see whether this help option works, we need to go to our backdoor and add it here as well. We need to type the line else if command equals equals to help. We simply just want to pass. Because we're not executing anything, we cannot leave it to do this, as we can't really let the help command execute because we don't care about any output of the help command, since it will get printed out by our server. Therefore, we're simply just going to pass in case the backdoor receives the help command, and then it will return to the beginning of the while true loop and it will try to receive the second command. So let's see whether all of this works. Of course, here we need to add term color dot colored, and now all should be good. For some reason this is still red underlined, so let's see what's wrong with this. Well, let's just run it and see what the error is, because I cannot really seem to find it at the moment. So let's just run it, Python 3 server.py, and it says invalid syntax in this line. Else if command, oh yeah, we're missing one equals, so else if equals to help. And now let's run the program. Everything should work fine now. Listening for the incoming connections, and if we run the backdoor, let's first of all test the regular commands that we can run, such as who am I, and it seems to hang. Let's check out the backdoor. Command is not defined, and if we go to our backdoor, command is indeed not defined because we did a misspell once again. So now it should work. Finally, let's give it one last try, Python 3 server.py, and let's go right here with Python 3 backdoor. Who am I command works, ls works, netstat -nr, for example, will give us an output, so everything works. What happens once we specify help? Bin sh help not found, and that is because we still let it go through these lines of code, and we're going to fix this in just a second. We get everything else printed out, so let's go with the quit command, and quit command works as well. Now let's fix this. And in order to fix this, we need to add this to the else statement. So in any other case, we're going to try to execute this. If it is not quit and if it is not help, we will execute it. Let's test it once again, just so we can make sure that this time it will not try to execute the help command. Let's run the backdoor, run the help command, and everything seems to work correctly. But this time we get another error, which it doesn't really allow us to continue executing the commands. You can see it simply just hangs after it prints this. Well, let's see why we get that error. So it should be a problem with our server, I believe, and that is also the same problem that we had before, is as soon as it prints this, it will go to the line where we try to receive the result. But remember, in our backdoor, we are not really executing anything and we are not really sending anything because this is now in the else statement. Therefore, this is also trying to receive and this is also trying to receive, resulting in our two programs hanging. So we need to add an else statement right here. So else, tab this in as well. And let's give it one last try. Start our server, then go to this terminal. Navigate to the backdoor project, start our backdoor. If I type help command, we get the output of the help command, everything gets printed out, and we also get to execute the next command if we want. Let's try the quit command, and everything works correctly. We do not get any error, and all of these three options for now work. The only thing is, we don't really print this in green, and that is because we forgot to add right here green. And now everything will work correctly. Okay, so now that we added the help option, the quit option, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the clear option in the next video. So thank you for watching this tutorial, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye! Welcome back. Let's continue with our next option. So if we scroll all the way down to our help command, we notice that we already have the first function. Now let's add the clear function. This is rather easy to do. All we're left to do is go to our server first and import the OS library. The OS library allows us to execute the commands that we can execute regularly inside of a terminal. So let's go all the way down and add another else if statement right here. Else if the command is equal, let's not forget it once again, to clear. Then what we can do is we can run os.system and execute the command inside of the brackets which we want to be clear. Since if you open up terminal and you type some gibberish and you type clear, it will clear the screen for you. We want to do the same inside of our server. But let's not forget to add the option inside of our backdoor as well, otherwise it will try to execute it inside of our backdoor, and we don't really want that. So let's add an option right here. Else if command equals to clear. Inside of our backdoor, all we want to do is we want to pass. So we don't want to do anything, we don't want to execute anything or print anything, we simply just want to return to the beginning of the while true loop and receive for the next command. Let's see whether this works. We open up the terminal, type server, then run the backdoor. Let's execute ifconfig, and if I type clear right after it, it will clear the screen for me. So it works correctly. Let's quit the program, and in the next video we're ready to go on with the next command, which in our case will be to change directories. Okay? So this was one of the easiest options to implement, therefore this video will be this short, and in the next one, as I said, we're going to go to the cd command. Alright, see you there, bye! Welcome back, and by now we already got two options that we coded. The third option that we should do right now is the changing of the directory. If you simply just run our server right here, and you run the backdoor, you can execute all of the commands, of course, such as whoami ls and all of the other commands that you can execute in the terminal. If I type pwd, it will give me my current working directory, or the directory in which I'm currently inside of this program, and it is inside of our backdoor project. But if I, for example, want to go one directory back inside of the PyCharm projects, inside of a terminal, a regular command will be cd and then 2 dots. But if you press here enter and you type pwd once again, you will still be in the backdoor directory. Therefore, this cd command doesn't really work for now, so we need to code it inside of our program. Let's quit this and let's go to our server and backdoor. Let's add another option below clear. Else if command equals cd and then space. Now make sure that you add this space, because cd and cd space command are not the same, especially in Windows. If in Windows you type cd, it will print you the current working directory. But if you type cd and then the directory name, it will change the directory into the directory that you specified. So by telling our server that if the command equals cd and then empty space, that means that after this will come the directory name, and that we want to change the directory. Therefore, inside of our server, all we want to do is we want to pass. We don't really want to get any result back, such as here, because there is nothing really to be printed out once you're switching the directories. There is nothing really as an output, but inside of our backdoor, we need to execute the directory switching. So right here, if I type else if command equals to cd and then empty space, then we want to use the OS library to change the directory. And luckily, inside of the OS library, we get a function which is called chdir. And before we actually continue with this function, we need to import OS inside of our backdoor. So we can use that function. And let's go down. Here, the OS change directory function takes one argument, and that is the directory that we want to change to. So how can we specify the directory? Well, we know that the command will look something like this. So let's type it right here. The command will be something like this: cd desktop. The first three characters are what we are specifying right here. So these are the first three characters. Therefore, what we can do, we can simply just compare else if command and then first three characters, which we specify by opening square brackets and then typing 2 dots up to 3. That means we are comparing only first three characters. If they're equal to this, then we can change the directory of the rest of the command. So we can change the directory of the command and then 3 characters, and from there. What this means is we're going to compare this part, and if it is equal to cd and then empty space, then we are going to perform the os.change directory onto this part, which will change the directory to the desktop directory. Otherwise, this will not work if we don't specify it like this. First of all, let's delete this, and we need to add the same thing inside of our server. So what we are comparing right here is we are comparing first 3 characters. Let's see whether this will work. This is all we need to specify in order to change the directory, and now we can test it out. So Python 3 server, and let's run the backdoor once again. If I type pwd to check my current working directory, we are in the backdoor directory. Let's go one directory back, so cd and then 2 dots, and then I type pwd once again, and now it seems to work. We are in the /root/pycharm projects directory. If I type ls, we should see all of our previous projects, as we can see them right here. Good, now we can change the directories. We can go to the vuln scanner if we want to, and we can check the contents of the vuln scanner directory. So we successfully coded the cd function, or the changing of the directory option, to our backdoor, and now we are ready to proceed on to the next option, which is going to be the uploading of the files to the target machine. Okay, so thank you for watching this tutorial, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye!